Hi guys, welcome back to Spelling and Word Study. My name is Mrs. Rhoades and I'm here to get you started on Unit 27, the ARY, A-R-Y suffix. Please take a second to gather your materials. You will need your purple book open to page 167. You'll also need some colorful pens, markers, or crayons. Remember, whatever I mark on my board, you should be marking on your page. Please save room for a key as well. If at any point I'm moving too fast, please pause the video and catch up. The first thing I want you to notice today is that I've already gone ahead and broken our words into syllables using those purple vertical lines and orange check marks to signify the stressed syllable. If you'd like to go ahead and add your own syllable breaks and stress marks, please do that now. All right, so we have been talking a lot about derivational suffixes. We know that those are chunks of letters that we can add to the end of a word to change its part of speech. Now, last week we looked at the ERY, ARY suffix, which is pronounced just like this, and we noticed that that hangs out a lot at the end of nouns. We can take verbs like bake or forge and turn them into nouns. Bakery, forgery. We can take a verb like flatter or deliver and turn it into flattery or delivery. Well, this week it's going to be a little bit harder to find a verb hiding in our words. First of all, our words are not all going to be nouns this week. ARY can show up at the end of a noun or an adjective. Secondly, the ARY suffix is much more likely to be glued onto a root, a Latin or a Greek root, instead of a whole word. For that reason, it's going to be a little bit harder to find chunks that we recognize in our words. However, if we use our building knowledge of prefixes and suffixes and roots, we might be able to figure out the meanings of some of these words. Let's start though by reading our list. Please repeat after me. Boundary, burglary, contrary, diary, dictionary, elementary, glossary, library, military, ordinary, primary, rotary, salary, secondary, secretary, solitary, stationary, summary, temporary, voluntary. Notice for most of our words, the stressed syllable came at the beginning. One exception is right here. Now, I pronounce it elementary, and I stress the third syllable. However, when I was growing up in upstate New York, we pronounced it elementary, and we kind of stressed this syllable instead. So you might notice that as you hear me reading some of these words, you might think, that's not the way I pronounce it. And that's fine. Different people have different dialects. They pronounce words slightly differently, and that's great. Okay, so what I want you to do now is I want you to choose a color, and we're going to find that ARY chunk, but we're only going to look for the nouns. So let's start right here with boundary. Okay, the boundary would be the outer edge. Sometimes we talk about boundaries between different countries or different states, right? Sometimes we talk about setting up boundaries around ourselves. We don't want people to cross them, right? So a boundary is an outer edge. A burglary is also a noun. A burglary is a theft. Okay, you can see related words in there like burgle or burglar. Contrary can be used as a noun. We can talk about something being the opposite. So if you've ever heard someone say on the contrary, they're saying on the opposite. So I could say, I really like spicy food. On the contrary, my husband prefers milder food. So it's like saying on the opposite end. Okay. A diary is a noun. That could be a place where we write down our feelings or our thoughts. A dictionary is a noun. That's a book of words. Although these days, I'm guessing that you don't use a physical dictionary. If you want to know what a word means, you probably look it up on your phone or on your computer. So you use a digital dictionary. A glossary, that's a noun. A glossary is kind of like a mini dictionary, but you find it in the back of a book. So if you're reading a book about butterflies, in the very back of the book, they might have words like chrysalis and metamorphosis and caterpillar. Those are all the words that you should know. A library, that's a noun. That's a place where we go to borrow books. The military can be used as a noun if we're talking about the department or the group of people that protect us, right? The Navy, the Marines, the Army, the Air Force, they are all part of our military. I've been forgetting to do my boxes here, so let me just get caught up. Okay, back on track. A rotary, that's a noun. A rotary is like a roundabout for traffic. Instead of having cars stop at a four-way intersection, they might have everybody go in a circle. That would be a rotary. So I'm going to write a rotary is a traffic circle. Your salary is the amount of money you get paid per year. So payment per year. Some people get paid by the hour. Most kids, when they get their first job, if they work at a restaurant or a store, they're going to get paid hourly, right? But then if you take on you go to college and you get a professional job as a teacher or a doctor or a manager, you're probably going to get a salary. You're going to get paid a certain amount of dollars for the whole year. It'll just be divided up by weeks. A secretary, that's like an office assistant, right? I'm going to say office worker. So if you are a lawyer and you have a lot to do, you don't have time to schedule all your appointments and make phone calls and greet people at the door and fill out paperwork. So you might hire a secretary to do all that for you. So that would be like an office assistant. A summary, that's a noun. When you take the whole movie or the whole book and you smush it down to the most important parts, that's a summary. So I'm going to say a shortened story. And that's it. So all of these words, again, I forgot to box them. Anything I boxed in blue is a noun. And notice that with the exception of contrary, these are all concrete nouns. Like I could draw you a picture of a glossary, a dictionary, a diary, right? So they're pretty easy to understand. All right, let's choose another color. And this time I want to look for adjectives. Because remember I told you words that end with ARY are either going to be nouns or adjectives. So, contrary can be used as an adjective, right? Some people have contrary opinions. Some people just like to be contrary. If I say, oh, it's a beautiful day, they say, no, it's a horrible day. If I say it's hot out, they'd say, no, it's cold. If I say this tastes good, they're going to say, no, it tastes bad. Sometimes people just like to be contrary. They like to say the opposite. Elementary or elementary, however you pronounce it, that's an adjective. And that describes schools for younger children. Usually, an elementary school will teach kids that are from kindergarten to grade 5 or kindergarten to grade 6. Those would be the elementary grades at the elementary school. Secondary is what we would call the high school, right? You go to the elementary school here, and then for secondary school, you go here. So secondary would be like of high school. Now, it has another meaning too. Secondary could mean like second. So for instance, she was running a high fever because she had the flu, but then she developed a secondary infection and had to be treated for strep throat as well. So a secondary infection would be something that showed up second. Okay? Primary is another word that we use to describe schools. We talk about elementary schools and high schools, but sometimes we talk about primary schools and secondary schools. So primary would mean first. So first you go to a primary school and then you go to a secondary school. But primary doesn't just have to refer to schools. You could talk about concerns like, well, my kids are staying home alone, but my primary concern is that they are safe, right? That would be my first concern. Okay, still looking for adjectives. We talked about contrary. I guess I'll put a green box around that too, since it's both. We talked about elementary. I don't know why I put a blue box around that one. Military can be used as an adjective if we're talking about a military base or a military uniform, a military career. In all those cases, military is describing something else. Ordinary, definitely an adjective. If something is ordinary, it's plain, it's the usual, right? Nothing special about it. Talked about primary. We said that's an adjective. Secondary, another adjective. Solitary means alone, okay? Sometimes inmates might get in trouble and they can no longer be with the other inmates, so they have solitary confinement, which means they have to stay by themselves. Some people prefer to have a solitary life. Most people like to live with other people, but some people prefer to live alone. They prefer the quiet, solitary life. Stationary. Now, does this look familiar? Last week we talked about this kind of stationary with an ERY. And we said that that's fancy paper. If you're going to write a thank you note to grandma, you might use your special stationery with ERY. This kind of stationery means not moving. Think about a stationary bike. You go to the gym, you can't be riding a bike all over the gym. Instead, you use a stationary bike. You pedal, but it doesn't go anywhere. It is stationary. Temporary, that's a describing word. If something's temporary, it's not going to last. Okay, so think about temporary tattoos. You can wash them off with soap and water. okay? Think about different phases a child might go through. When a baby's fussy and grandma says, oh, don't worry, this is just temporary, it's just a phase. She'll grow out of it, he'll grow out of it. So temporary is not going to last. And then voluntary is also an adjective. If something is voluntary, you volunteered for it, okay? The opposite would be involuntary. So voluntary means you chose, right? So in our country right now, people don't get drafted. When you turn 18, you don't have to join the military. It is voluntary. College is voluntary. You get to choose what you want to do after high school. Going to elementary school is not voluntary. You need to learn. Now, you don't have to go to a school. You could learn at home. You could learn from someone in your neighborhood, but getting an education as a kid is not voluntary. You have to do it. Okay. I think I covered all of that. I just want to talk about one more thing with you. If you open your book to page 170, I have a new root for you. It is the Latin root DICT. And whenever you see DICT, I want you to think of the word say. Anything with DICT has something to do with saying. So, for instance, if you predict that it's going to rain tomorrow, you are saying it's going to rain before it actually rains. So when you make a prediction, you say something's going to happen beforehand, right? A dictator is a leader that just tells people, he just says what people need to do, right? If you are you're a business person, you might dictate a letter to your secretary. You tell him what you want to say in your letter. If you hear the word diction has to do with choosing the right words and stating them clearly. So if you think about a dictionary, what's the job of a dictionary? It's a book of words, right? So it helps you figure out what words to use, but it also helps you pronounce them so you know how to say them. When you get to this page, you're going to see other words like verdict, right? During a court case, the jury comes up with a verdict. What do they say? Is the person innocent or guilty? Think about something like an addiction. If you are addicted to something, you can't say no to it, right? Even this word, I don't know if you guys have seen this before. It's pronounced indict. When somebody gets indicted for a crime, that means the police are saying that they did it and they're going to have to go to court to prove otherwise. Okay? So this week I want you to look for that DICT chunk. Most of the times it'll be pronounced DICT, but as we saw here, it could be pronounced DICT. I want you to look at the words in the word bank and then match them with their meanings below. All right, that's all I have for you now. Good luck, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.